I've been able to understand the human problem twofold. The twofold problem is find God and create. Those are the two things. Basically, you trick your brain into it by falling in love with the process so that all your satisfaction comes from the journey and not the destination.
Facts. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to fall in love with the process. And so it goes into how I train my people at work. I always tell them, don't worry about the line, worry about the person in front of you.
Wow, yeah. So that's the other part is I realized the thing you want most is on the other side of fear. And I say I realize it is because we know this. Like everyone can tell you that, not everyone, but a lot of people can say, yeah, I know, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And, we hear stories of it and stuff.
Totally different from when you're actually experiencing it.
Right.
That's, wow. That's very enlightening, bro. Like, wow, that just helped me. Oh man, I'm in a good mood now.
Let's do it.
Yo, what's happening? This is Lorenzo.
And this Emman.
And we are Organic Lights. This is the Organic Light Show, and we welcome you back for our 11th episode.
Wow, 11. 11's a great number.
11 is a great number. I love 7 and 11 are like my favorite numbers, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You must love that.
7 is my jersey number.
Okay.
Like literally 7 is my favorite number. I'm a Tony Kukoc fan.
Don't know who that is.
He played for the Chicago Bulls. He's from Croatia.
Oh, nice.
And so while he played and won championships with the Bulls, everybody was on Pippen and Jordan and everybody. I was.
But you're
Kukoc.
different. You're like, I'm Kukoc.
Yeah, there was like, who? And then seriously, like record scratch. Like, what?
It's like Lorenzo, why can't you just like African American? Why?
Listen, I was never a Jordan fan. Like I loved it, but I definitely wasn't a Jordan fan. I loved the Bulls, though.
And I'm not gonna poke this bear because this could be a whole debate on Jordan.
No, you don't want to do that. We'll be on here literally all day.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If we could before we get to our regular scheduled program, I would like to shed a little bit of light on last week's episode. First off, I don't take back anything I said. I stand on 10 toes. All right. What was said, but as I've had time to think about it, and actually during this week, this is probably like the most profound thing that happened to me this week, is that I had a heart-to-heart, and I realized that, and for context, for those of you who haven't seen last week's episode, I might have mentioned a slight, minuscule infatuation with another female on this planet.
On the planet. Wow.
And, we talked about it, and then Lorenzo proceeded to talk about his marriage and all that stuff. But, I feel like the Lord was dealing with me, and I found that there was an attachment. And this is like a fundamental problem I'm learning as a human is our attachments. You see that Jesus said, when the rich young ruler said, well, how do I enter the kingdom? And he said, sell all that you have. The point wasn't that you don't own anything. The point is that you let go of the things that you hold dear or that you begin to idolize above God. Mm. And so I had to be honest with myself. And to say it in an extreme way, I was beginning to idolize the idea of a relationship because my thoughts were going more towards that than towards God. And the reason why I really knew I was forming an attachment is because when I was like, all right, I got to let go of it. Like, I have to, let me think in my mind, like, what if, this relationship doesn't happen? How would I feel? And honestly, I was like, man, that'd be kind of a bummer, like it is nice to be in a relationship, there is joy to be had. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to go, so I fully went through that process of letting go. And also a little bit of context. I was partially joking because Lorenzo did show me a comment of a beloved listener who was said I sounded a little parched, a little thirsty, you know.
Listen, this was,
and it was true, but it's true though. Like I was aware of it, and I tried to, you know, make fun of it a little bit. But it was. I didn't mean to cut. Did you want to?
No, I can wait.
Okay. So I say all this to say that when I got to that point of detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're not dependent upon something, right? And what happened was I'm like, okay, then what am I going to depend on now?
No way.
Right. And so it opens up your heart to be like, to find that place in God's presence fully again. It's not like I didn't go heathen or nothing. I didn't go crazy, but this is just me being transparent. And this is things that we go through. And it can happen with anything. It can happen with even like our children, like us depending on them and to serve our identity as a parent, and we get so much joy and love from our kids, and we're attached to them.
Yes, depending on them to depend on us, like making it to where they have to depend on you. Like you don't feel like you're a parent if your children don't need you.
Right. There's so much validation that we can get from that. And so that just goes to show that this is just a human problem. We get attached to like a promotion or success in a job. And the point is not to pursue these things. Again, the point is to pursue them from the right position. You pursue them from a position of, I'm in alignment with God and my purpose. And you could just tell based off of the thought, if like, okay, what if you lost this? How would you feel then? Would you feel like you're lacking if you lost whatever, name it, And so again, that's the point I got to. And so now I'm like, okay, what is my thing? Because I was I was slightly depressed for like, 3.5 minutes and times 10 and then plus 50 and
wow. All day, huh? This is what we've gotten to. We made it from the first few seconds to all day. I like it. All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. And basically, okay, I'm trying to get this out. So what happened was I was realigned with my purpose. And this was the most beautiful thing. And so I'm giving a message at Carriage Town for the first time the last Thursday of the month on the 23rd.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so as I was writing that, I had just a massive like epiphany or like revelation to where I was like, oh, I don't think I care about really anything more than this as far as like purpose.
Yeah.
Right. Because for this month, I had dedicated myself to like, okay, I'm gonna, I have some goals that I want to accomplish. And I'm going to do them like every day. I'm going to have this checklist instead of being like, okay, this is my arbitrary goal and I'm going to attempt to go for it. And then after 3 days, you fall off. I'm like, no, every day I have these 5 things and I give them each a star. So I try to have 5-star days every day. And I have been. And what's beautiful is that at first it was like, okay, I'm going to do music and I'm going to make a song and blah, blah, blah. And I took that as far as it can go. And I was just imagining like, is this really like, do I really see myself being a world performer and like, that being my thing? And to be honest, no, music is just more of a hobby. I don't have, hip hop dreams like that. And so I'm like, okay, what is my thing? And so add the kind of the separation of that relationship on top of that, where I'm like, okay, I can't put all my energy into that. And so it gave space to that wide open door of like, oh yeah, it's ministry. And it's always been ministry. I mean, this is what I do here. This is why we started the podcast.
Right.
It's because we love to just share the truth that we've experienced. And when I tell you like, because also I was imagining like to help someone on their journey in this life, that echoes into eternity. I mean, we're talking about something of a magnitude that can't be imagined. And I was fully able to picture myself in front of these groups of people, and also worldwide. Like I was just dreaming. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a worldwide ministry. Like the sky is literally the limit because I love it.
Yes.
And this is my pocket right here.
Yeah. Yes.
And so all that being said, we do have a clip we want to show. And it kind of goes into, I want to break it up into, I'm definitely taking over the first half of this podcast just so you guys can know, kind of expect it, you know. But I've been able to understand the human problem twofold. Okay. So this is like a universal message, and I love universal messages. So like no matter who's watching, whatever age, whatever gender, no matter what, they're going to feel this, right?
Yeah, you can apply it to anything.
You can apply it, yes. The twofold problem is lack of purpose and, how would you put it, lack of faith in God, I would say.
Yeah.
Or like, you know.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
So,
I mean, most of the time when it comes down to purpose and faith, purpose is something we all eventually search for.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is something we all feel like we lack, but we have an abundance of, and we just invested in the wrong things.
Yeah. It's impossible not to have faith towards something.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything that your heart truly believes in, or as most people would say, you wholeheartedly agree with or believe in, that's faith. You know, like if you believe, you know, some people have these goals, like some women have goals of becoming nurses, right? And they go super hard. Like I've never seen people go harder than women who want to become nurses.
Yeah, that's a tough job.
And they dedicate themselves, like they literally sacrifice their life to becoming a nurse. You know, my niece has become a nurse, and she sacrificed a lot of years of her life.
Yeah.
You know, had kids, and I mean, she's still on it. Like, just, I can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, when it came to becoming healthier, living a healthier lifestyle, bro, and I tell you, she wore the Peloton bike out for like a good couple months straight, mm-hmm. like nonstop. Mm-hmm. Myself with college, with Bible college.
Yeah.
And achieving the goal of actually accomplishing a goal. Mm-hmm. Dude, that it took a lot of faith, because I wanted to quit a lot of days, and then I had to keep telling myself, like, dude, this is it. This is what it is. Like, you've been shown images. You've been shown. He's giving you bits and pieces of what you're supposed to walk into. How dare you give up on something that you're destined for?
Yeah, and I guess, okay, as you're saying that, I'm getting a better idea of the twofold. So it is faith, but it's the full realization of your faith is the second problem.
Okay.
Because a lot of people have faith, but we're unsatisfied because our faith hasn't fully blossomed into just like I know God, I'm experiencing God, I'm walking in my purpose, I'm creating, I have dominion over the earth, you know, all the things that we're put on this earth to do. Find God and create. Those are the two things, right? Yeah. And so
be fruitful and multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply. And so I have this fun clip that I found. I actually posted it on my Instagram story this week. And it talks about how to, and I really hope you guys are tuned in here. It's how to trick your brain basically into accomplishing something more efficiently, you know, how to do something without it feeling so hard. You know, a lot of things feel like an uphill battle, just like what you're saying, like even with nursing, with Bible college, whatever it is, working out. I've experienced it with working out where, and I don't want to get too far ahead of the video, but where it's like, it's difficult. And the best way to like excel is to tap into the love of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Fall in love with the process.
Okay. So I don't want to step on the video's toes. So all right. So let's watch this video. Hope you enjoy. It's a short little thing. Oh, wait, the sound's not on. Let's try it. Is that too loud or what? Maybe not.
This is how you actually
trick your brain into thinking the hard things are easy.
Here's how it works.
Motor neurons in the brain
Learn to avoid making an effort.
By default.
The way the brain interprets these instincts is a heavy trip.
So in order to trick the chemical catalyst that turns the brain into some sort of receiver
Is by
Rapidly falling in love.
The process itself
So that the satisfaction
comes from the journey itself.
and not the destination.
It's not the destination so much as the journey, they say.
Okay, so it's a little hard to hear some of those points, but he said basically you trick your brain into it by falling in love with the process so that all your satisfaction comes from the journey and not the destination.
Facts. And that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Is to fall in love with the process. The easiest way to go about it though is to set small goals.
Yeah.
That lead to the
Right.
the realization of the big goal, right?
Yeah.
And to celebrate your small victories along the way. That's one of the things that I learned in college, which helped me get through where my tough spots were, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I stopped looking at all I had to do and just focused on what I had to do right now, everything seemed to just kind of, you go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing because you're not focused on down the way.
Right.
You're not focused on 2-3 years from now because that's what we look at, right? That's that's the thing that deters us most of the time is look at what all I have to do.
Right.
Instead of looking at, okay, well, let's
one
just
thing.
do this thing right here.
Right.
And so it goes into how I train my people at work. I always tell them, don't worry about the line, worry about the person in front of you.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
that's how you get through the line. One
Right.
person at a time. You can't serve 4 or 5 people at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only serve one person at a time.
Yes.
Focus on the one person.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I hope you guys just heard that. This is like one of the biggest keys because the battle's up here, right? The battle's in the
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
And it's the mind that convinces us that of the struggle, basically. It's the mind where you hold all that you have to do and you deem it as too heavy. And it's like, you know what, I'm just going to drop the full load and procrastinate. And I've been experiencing this day by day with my editing because, you know, I like to move. I like to be outside. So it's tough being inside editing for hours at a time. Like editing is a long job. Like no matter, like a 1-minute video will take an hour to edit, you know? And so I've had to learn, I'm like, oh, I'm projecting fear onto it. I'm projecting discomfort. And because what I realize is when you actually do it, when you actually just focus on the one person, or you actually just say, you know, I'm just going to, you know, do this one video, maybe just an hour edit real quick. It's not as bad as you imagined. Your mind always makes it out to be the boogeyman when in reality it's like, no, we're all built for this. And this is the journey.
And that's what we have to get away from when it comes to spiritual battles too, because that's what he does to you. He tells you, you're not built for this. You don't really want to do this. Look at all the time that you got to spend doing this. You're not going to be able to do this, and you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
All because you got to sit here and do this. And what he does is he tries to deter you from the thing that he knows you're being called to.
So that's the other part is I realized the thing you want most is on the other side of fear. And I say I realize it is because we know this. Like everyone can tell you that, not everyone, but a lot of people can say, yeah, I know, you know, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And, you know, we hear stories of it and stuff.
Totally different from when you're actually experiencing.
Right.
So.
And so as I've been able to engage with this process over and over and battling my mind every day, building this business, I'm realizing like, oh, the times where I felt the most joy and the most, you know, peace and stuff is when I broke through that barrier And when I broke through, there's like a power up, like Dragon Ball Z or something like that.
You
It's
got a
like,
surge.
yeah. And it's like, okay, so next time my mind is like, oh, I don't feel like doing that. And I project kind of boredom onto my whole day because, oh, I just got to edit all day today. I don't want to edit. And it's like, where's joy at? Like, why can't I go, So I'm like, no. That's exactly what you need to do right now. That your joy is on the other side of that. And actually you'll find it through it.
You found the joy in the accomplishment of the goal.
Yeah. And fulfilling my purpose.
Yeah,
that was my purpose
absolutely.
in that moment.
Yep.
Because God will use everything. It's not like, it's just like with David. He was a shepherd and God used that for his ultimate purpose. So I know God is using me building a business and being an entrepreneur and filmmaking and stuff for my ultimate purpose. So everything, every barrier, every point of resistance is a plot point in my storyline that I must get through to get to the climax.
Not only that, but it's confirmation that that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Anytime the enemy is forming some type of resistance, obviously you're going in the correct direction.
Right. There's never resistance on quitting.
Yeah.
Quitting feels great.
Awesome. Like there's the one thing that I've learned from you is that there's always resistance in the climb. There's always resistance in the climb. The fall is easy.
Yeah.
There's no resistance in falling.
Right.
You know what I mean? You hear more grunting when people stand up than when people sit down or lay down. You get what I mean? Because there's no resistance in the fall.
Exactly.
There's always resistance in the stand.
Yeah, it's weird to say it in this way, but like life will help you fall, which I don't like saying because life is on your side, but things in life will help you fall. If you want to fall, it'll give you every reason to.
Oh.
Every excuse is like, today's the perfect day to fall.
I'm telling you, sometimes I quit probably about 12 times before I clock in at work, right? Man, forget this job, man. Yeah. I don't need this job no way. You know how many jobs is out here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't really need this job, man. Forget everybody at this job. Bing, hey, how y'all doing? Everybody all right? How's it going? How's the dog? Granny good? All right, let's do it, y'all. What we waiting on? Like, let's go. Yeah. And but sometimes you build up the wrong thoughts towards the right things. You know what I mean? We have such strong minds and we use them so haphazardly towards the things that we should be actually honing that energy into. You know what I mean? Like we should really be aiming this weapon that we have in our mind towards the things that would really fulfill us.
Yeah,
you
would benefit us. Yeah, because the tough thing is that it's not that you're not justified in necessarily how you feel. It's that how you feel isn't helping you.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that the job doesn't actually suck or the people aren't, it's not that the people aren't misbehaving or whatever it may be. Like, and it's similar with like even family members. We may have issues like, oh, they don't call me enough or whatever grievances we may have with people. On paper, yes, that is not helpful for a healthy relationship or for a good work environment.
I like that.
But the point is that you're feeding energy into negativity, so that's what you're going to get back.
Yeah,
it's not productive for you, and that's what you're saying with the strength of our brain is that we are creators, and so whatever our attention goes to, energy flows to, and we're just going to magnify that into our lives. And that actually segue into the love bit of this, because I was just you helped me to see this a little better because I was outside again today, touching the ground with my feet as I do, and I was realizing how effortless it is for me now, and that's why it was kind of a revelation for you to tell me, because it's just who I am now, and it is strange based off of Emman, 5 years ago. I didn't thirst for the outdoors as much as I do now. And what I'm realizing is the gravity of love is so interesting.
That's good.
Cause like it's natural because I have acknowledged the beauty in it and like I've developed a love for it. And so I naturally gravitate towards it.
Oh, I got you. So you're
Yes.
saying like a gravitational pull towards love.
Yes.
I was thinking about the weight of love, but you're talking about how love actually pulls you to it.
Yes. And that's the point with like whether it's working out, whether it's, you know, your ministry course that you're on, you know, the being a nurse. If you can identify what you love about it, if you can take inventory, and this is what I did when I was working out and trying to form a love for it, is after I got done working out, I would sit and take a moment to be mindful, to actually feel how I feel now versus before, because there is a different feeling.
Yeah.
And so once I felt that, and I'm like, wow, I feel like amazing. I feel more alert. I feel stronger. I love this feeling of accomplishment. Then next time I'm in a state where I'm a little bit low energy, where I feel a little groggy, whatever it may be, instantly that love is pulling on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not like I got to push myself out the door to work out. I'm being pulled out the door to work out because I love it.
Yeah, at first it starts out as a discipline, and then it becomes habit.
Yeah.
Because you feel almost like naked without it. You know what I mean? Like it's like a person who wears a wedding ring every day, and all of a sudden they took it off to maybe, you know, clean it or lotion a hand or something like that, and then they forgot to put it on, and they make it out in the world without it.
Yeah.
And they go to do one of the things that we always do. Like one of the things married people do is they touch their ring quite often, unconsciously, right? And the moment you go to reach to touch it and it's not there, like you start to feel really weird, you know, or for me, like it's always fixing my necklace. Like I have to fix it. I don't like the clasp to make it around to the front. And so I'm always fixing it, making sure it's right where it's supposed to be. And even if it's tucked in, like underneath there, I'm still making sure it's good. And let me go to reach for it and it's not there.
Yeah.
It's almost clutch my pearls time, like dun dun dun.
Yeah.
I'm it's a mystery. Like, okay, let me think. Where did I leave? Oh no, I did leave it at home, or you know. And so the same thing goes for getting up in the morning, communing with God, and really just sitting in His presence. Sometimes, you know, or whatever it is that you do in the morning that you gets you started throughout your day. My first thing is to thank God when I wake up. I thank Him. I get in the Word. I've struggled lately with staying awake. And so I feel like I've been on this spiritual battlefield against the spirit of sleep, right? Every time, and I know that it sounds weird because everything can be called a spiritual battle, you know, these days. But I know that it's that because every time I go to dig in, I get sleepy. Every single time. Dude, it doesn't matter, because most people say, oh, maybe it's because you ate something. I can chew a piece of gum. And as soon as I crack open my Bible, I get sleepy, like absolutely drowsy. And I'll start to, you know, I'll be meditating on the Word. And all of a sudden I'm waking up and I'm like, oh. But good thing is that we have grace, right? Good thing is that God sees our efforts. He searches our hearts. He knows our intentions. He knows our motives. And while that's no excuse, He does honor the effort, right?
Yeah. And I do think there's a thing about like why you're opening the Bible. Because if it gets to the point where, you know, you're in a scripture where it's not as applicable, you know, it's not as alive, then I can see how it could trigger your brain and it'd be like, all right, you know, what's next? Because like, do you when you're going into it, do you feel like, man, I can't wait to dive back into this? Or are you at a point where it's like, you know, it's more studying like
sometimes it's a little bit of both. Okay. Like sometimes I'm like, all right, yeah, I can't wait because it's, you know, like I feel thirsty for it, right? And then there's times where it's like, dude, this makes like the 1,000th time I read this scripture this week. And I'm really like, I'm burned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm burned out almost. And not saying that I'm burned out on the word, but it can become a little bit mundane, you know, when because you have, in where I'm at in the course that I'm in, I'm trying not to get too far out because it's a concentrated audience that we have to speak to, right? And so my audience is teenagers and young adults. And so I can't cut into this group of people like I would full on adults,
right?
You know, 40s, 50s, 35.
You got to shape the message differently,
right? And so I have to dig into when I was their age and start to realize, what was I doing at this time? Not only that, but what are the kids today doing?
Yeah.
And how does this apply to what they're doing today?
Right.
And so it makes it hard because while I look young and I'm not that young, I have to still figure out how to relate. You know what I mean? And it's not saying that I can't get in my bag, but the thing is that I have to relive some things that I was past. You know what I mean? That I didn't really want to have to touch on again because I finally made it past this. I finally have conquered this. But have you?
Right. And I think that's the telltale sign is if you conquer something or not is how you feel when you approach it.
Yeah.
Is there still baggage when you approach? Is it still like, oh, no, I already passed that. I don't even want to think about it. It's like, well, did you get past it? Because if you did, like a wound, it wouldn't hurt anymore when you touch it. If it fully healed.
Yeah. And I was saying this to my wife, like, did I master it or did I get past it? You know what I mean? Because passing something is fine. But if you conquered something, if you mastered it, it doesn't matter if you ever walk past it again, it's going to be the same feeling like, oh, I'm good. Like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? It's like that person, you know, that you used to Jones for real bad, and all of a sudden y'all no longer seeing each other and all of that. When you see them again, do you get butterflies? Did your heart skip a beat? Did you?
Nope.
Wow, I forgot about earlier.
Nah, not me. Hey, look.
He said, nah, me.
Nah, son. Like what I look like?
Nah. I don't even feel.
I ain't tripping off no girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, son. All right.
You don't need a glass of water, do you?
Nah, I'm good. I got my Pellegrino. You know what I'm saying? Got my mineral water. I'm good.
You sounded a little parched right there.
Yeah, I did. We working it out.
But you really start to. And I think that now that we're talking about it, I think that this is my real struggle, right? Is, do I really want to go back to that place? Because the week before, or I'll say earlier in the week, right? Start of the week, I had to do a presentation to the same group. And by the time it was time to close, I was literally in tears.
Oh, wow.
Because it took me back to a place that I did not feel comfortable in. It took me back to a time where, as a kid, you guys will probably be surprised to know that I was the smallest kid in my class, you know, possibly the smallest kid in the school in my grade level, you know. And I got picked on a lot. I got bullied. They used to catch me going to the bathrooms and all of that. And, you know,
how much is a lot? I'm just curious.
Daily.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, daily. Until I left that school, it was daily. Not only did I get picked on, but I got beat every day by the teacher. Yes.
For misbehaving?
No. I mean, so I had, growing up, I had a deficiency in iron. So I would fall asleep like that in class. And I used to take iron medication growing up, and my grandmother would give the teacher permission for every time I fell asleep or any time that I didn't finish my my classwork to paddle me, because paddling was legal back then.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it got to a point where this teacher was almost finding joy in paddling me, to the point to where I came home one day with a knot on the back of my leg. My mom just so happened to come home and see it and lost it.
Wow.
From the time my mom went and checked this lady for paddling me so much, when she found out that my grandmother had given permission, that's when she decided, like, no more. Like, and she moved us to the other side of town, put me in a different school.
Wow.
You know, and it went from there.
So what I've been learning, if I could interject,
Yeah.
I already have. Sorry. What I've been learning is that as a kid, the big dilemma is that we don't know how to process trauma. And so things happen to us and we tend to accept them as normal. And we tend to so the things that kids tell us, the way that they treat us, that then becomes the way we view ourselves.
Yes.
So has that been can you see how that happened as a kid?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that the biggest help was Christian counseling class, where it literally made you look within.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we mentioned, and I forgot. I'll let you tell that whole story last week without telling you. We did mention it on the first episode.
We did.
And so,
the very first episode.
Because I know some people will hear and be like, "All right, they already talked about this," but whatever. One thing I did want to say about that too, though, is something I realized, because I had that major moment as well, where I'm looking at the younger me and I'm realizing, oh, there's been so much self-hatred, and this is the part of the unconscious part of ourselves, because we'll never consciously say, well, some people do, but we'll never consciously say, I hate myself. It's, it's more of I feel down about myself, and everyone feels down about themselves. This is normal. This is I am, X, Y, and Z, ugly, whatever it may be. And we see that as the truth, not self-hatred. And so once you're able to make that distinction and recover all that negative energy that you've been putting into, that you've been directing toward yourself, and to transmute that, I'm going too far in. My point is, once we do it once, we feel okay, boom, I did it, I'm done.
The check the box mentality, dude, I can't stand it. It bothers me, even when it comes to myself. I don't like doing. If I'm gonna do it, I have to do it. It has to be with consistency, and it bothers me when I break the consistency. Like working out. You get on this good string of working out. You're working out 3-4 days a week.
Yeah.
And you're doing it week after week after week, and then all of a sudden you fall off. It's hard. It gets harder every time.
Yeah.
To get back on the horse, to get back in the gym, to get back in the groove, to get back realigned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so. I agree with that. I guess the tricky part though about shadow work or inner healing is that you don't know when you're finished healing.
Yeah.
So you could trick yourself into thinking okay, I had this big purging of emotions. I cried it out and boom, I'm done. I love myself perfectly now. I have no more issues with self-love. That's not true. Right.
You just haven't come up against the next thing.
The next level.
Yeah. The next thing. And that's wow. That's very enlightening, bro. Wow, that just helped me.
Yeah,
because that's something that I think that I've run into, which is just simply getting to the next level and realizing that you're on the next level, right? Because here's the resistance.
Yep.
Here's the resistance. Me getting closer to the fruition of the vision that I was shown. Me getting to the point where it's almost time to graduate. Me having to face a fearful time in my life where I was literally full of anxiety and fear. And now with you telling me this right now, like I'm realizing that, wow, I stepped in another door. You know, I've stepped through, unknowingly stepped through it. Like, you know, but again, sometimes when you reach the next level, you don't really know you did it.
Right. Because it's all a continuum. It's not like, okay, I here and then I jump here. It's a fader. It's a spectrum.
Because
And
we all, I'm sorry.
well, we just kind of fade into the next thing. You know, no one notifies us. All right, now you're here. It's like,
yeah. Because you don't hit stop signs when you're
Right.
necessarily in this continuum. You hit roadblocks, stumbling blocks, or whatever you want to call them, but nothing's really, you don't have a traffic light that's saying, okay, well, right here is where you sit for a second and you watch the crossing, you know, make sure no cars are coming in this spiritual journey or whatever, and then cross the street.
Yeah.
Well, me and my entire group have encountered a struggle
Yeah.
during this last course, is because I said it to him, but now that I think about it, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I think that the Lord was kind of speaking through me, but he was also speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Was that this is something that we should have seen coming because we're getting closer.
Bro, yes. And it's so shocking how we keep getting blindsided. Like the spiritual journey is a progression of being broken. You know, there's, you know, dark points, dark valleys after dark valleys. And you would think we would get used to being in a position of not knowing where we are, of things being difficult and hard and like, Lord, where are you? But no, every time we get into that space, it feels like, you know, for a moment, you kind of lose hope or, not, you know, where it's just like, man, you know, you're just struggling more than you have to instead of just being like, oh, I know what this is. I'm being elevated to the next point.
Yeah.
Because it always looks different.
Yeah.
Before, it was maybe something with a relative, you know, and now you're like, okay, I passed that level. Next time I have an issue with a relative in this same way, I'll know what to do. But then life hits you from the back.
A different relative now, or
right.
a friend,
or in a different situation,
Yeah.
to where you can't apply it perfectly, like bar for bar.
Yeah.
But the principle still stands, where it's like, oh, there's resistance. There's a roadblock. There's lies being fed to me. I'm living in anxiety. I'm living in anger. I just know if those emotions are out picturing themselves in my body, in my being, I know I must be thinking wrongly. So no matter what the context may be, because that context will forever change. The boss will forever look different than the previous boss, and it'll be a little more difficult because you've grown. That doesn't matter. I know the game. I know the controls. I know what my power-ups are. I know who I can depend on, you know, God. And
come on.
And so, yeah, it's like that should be, because I was just in a situation where I was like, oh, actually just with that moment where I had to let go, and I'm just gonna keep talking. Where I had to let go of that that relationship. Bro, we're so giddy today. Okay. But you know, when I had to let go, and I'm like, man, like I'm just more, I knew I was more down than I had to be. And if I would have known that the igniting of my purpose was right around the corner, I would have been chilling through that. I would have been like, man, I'm good. But it's the fact that we don't know.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we can't see the future. We allow our fears to have more reality than they should ever have.
Yeah, and that you said it right there. We allow it because it can't do anything without our permission, right?
Right.
And so just like the enemy can do nothing without our permission, the enemy can't do anything without God's permission, you know? And so while he thinks that, oh, well, I'm running this show, I'm doing my thing, you're really only doing the thing that he wants you to do.
Yeah.
You know, he allows you to do the things that you're doing, making you work against yourself. You know,
Right.
no matter how you look at it. It's just like the same thing with us. Like, we're not saying that we don't have control over our lives. We have a bit of it. But ultimately, if God has called on us to do a thing, we're going to do it, whether conscious of it or unconscious of it.
The higher will, huh? So I think there's an ultimate will, an absolute will, and a relative will.
Yeah.
And absolutely, yeah, everything goes in according to his will. But relatively, that's when we we take all these detours.
Yep.
But all along the way, we are absolutely getting to this same point.
Yep.
So free will exists.
Yes, free will exists. But the good thing about free will is that the love that we choose to accept as well as give is absolutely free as well. You know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. We are so hell-bent on earning or gaining everything, that they're struggling to get everything that we have, that we forget that love, grace, and mercy are free.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely free. And when it comes to grace, we have to learn how to give ourselves some.
Yes.
We don't give ourselves enough grace. We'll go crying to God, oh, just save me from this, right? And then he hits you with well, my grace is sufficient for you.
Mm-hmm.
I will not save you from this. Because you already have it. You're already gonna win this thing. You just have to see you the way I see you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You have to accept what I've given you.
Yes. And it's not, he's equipped all of us for the journey. He's equipped none of us actually go out unequipped, right? We really have everything we need. But it's just like the traits that are in a person for different things, whether it be disease or some type of sickness or whatever, or even some of the good things like strength, right? What brings it out of you?
Struggles. Your
Exactly.
environment, yeah.
Stress, those types of things. And so we'll never know how strong we really are until we realize how weak we really are.
Mm.
And so even then, like, we get to a point where we're like, well, how am I supposed to do this? Oh, this is a big scale work that you got me doing. How am I supposed to do this? And then all of a sudden your life kind of shatters, right? Well, I was brought into a revelation one day that it was in the form of a question. And even though I had the correct answer, he wasn't asking me the question. He was telling me to ask someone else the question.
Hmm.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to this friend of mine, and he's like, ask him, how does a vessel, or how does a container or a vase or whatever you want to call it, how does it end up in many places? One vessel end up in many places. How can it end up in many places?
That's a riddle. How can one
I'll
vessel
give you a chance to answer.
at the same time? It's in
Yes.
two different places at once.
It can be in multiple places.
One vessel.
Yes.
If it's already everywhere at once?
Not if it's, it will be. It's how can it be in all these different places at one time?
You carbon copy, like you make a duplicate or something? I don't know.
No. You break it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what's the insight
And so
there?
in the breaking in your life that you've thought that was just this terrible thing, right? Because God works all things out for the good of those who love him, right?
Yeah.
So you're broken and you feel like your life is just shattered and scattered, right? Well, these pieces are found by other people. Because this is how God is just this dope, right? And so the person that finds this piece of this vessel not only finds the PIECE piece, but that piece brings them PEACE piece. Mm. And so that piece starts to guide them and and pull them towards the source, which is God, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody who finds a piece of this piece brings it back to God, right? And God pieces these pieces back together, but in a different shape and form. Mm-hmm. because he's the master potter. And so as he's receiving these pieces of you back and putting you back together, you become different. You're no longer conformed of this world. You know what I mean? You're a new creation now, right?
Okay, yeah. So let me make sure I understand this. So in this analogy, the vessel, we are the vessel.
We are the vessel.
The broken vessel.
Yes.
And so the idea of us are now, it sounded like you're saying other people are grabbing pieces of us.
Yes.
And bring it. So what does that look like?
So in other words, now because there's always people watching us and we don't know it, right? Kids watch us, friends and families watch us, strangers watch us. Just like when we were in the restaurant about a week or so ago, and a woman leaned over and said, "Oh my God, I love it. I love hearing people talk about God."
Yeah.
And you never know what that will do for a person, right? Mm-hmm. That could have absolutely fanned her flame in her faith, because she's probably thinking God is no longer here.
Especially two young African-American men. I don't know, because people's perception of black men can be so low sometimes. So
absolutely.
That
I mean, even our perception of ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, we're so programmed to hate each other, and we're so programmed to think the least of each other, even the least of ourselves, that we don't think that this is possible. And to a certain degree, I can understand the mind frame of it, because when you go into African American churches, you don't see many men anymore.
Right.
You see a lot of women. And in a lot of these churches now that are starting to come up with younger leaders, you're starting to see the men start to gravitate back in, be pulled in. I know a couple of churches where they're starting to get more men to actually come in and do the work, but it's a struggle.
Right. And I don't want to get too far away from the analogy, though. So other people see you.
Yeah. And so what happens is, even with that, you can use that as well. Like, other men will see you and they'll see the struggle that you go through, right? And the fact that you still haven't given up on going to God, or believing in God, or believing him for whatever it is that he promised you. And the next thing you know, they start believing, and they start coming to you for advice, or you know what I mean? And these things will pull more people in than you know. This is why God says, my ways aren't your ways. My thoughts aren't your thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even think enough of yourself, the person that I created in my image and my likeness, to even think that you can think as far out as I think, right?
It's
like
a lot of thinking.
Yeah, like it's a lot of thinking, right? But for him, it's effortless, because we're not omnipresent, we're not omnipotent,
right?
You know what I mean? And so he can do all of these things, because he lives in each and every one of us.
Yeah, and in everything else, in every fabric. There's not a space, there's not a atom in the universe that doesn't have the presence of God emanating through it. And so I think, if I may start to slow this vehicle, this light van down, I love this concept. What was it? Don't forget it, Emmanuel, okay? It's on live television. We're not going to embarrass ourselves right now. The idea of, like, the paradox, like, and like you're saying, God's ways are not our ways. Like, what we find as humans is that our whole way of thinking is completely backwards. It's like a perfect 180.
Yeah.
And so, whereas we think, you know what? In order to make a change, I got to go out and I got to tell people what they're doing wrong. And I got to, correct them in this way. I got to look at the speck. I got to get that tiny speck out of their eye. All the while, we got this giant log in our eye. Got this beamer in our eye. And it's like, once you realize, okay, what's the exact 180? Okay, let me take my attention off of other people and put it on myself.
Yes.
And then what's so beautiful is that as you begin to heal, just like you're saying, as you begin to stay faithful at, all these things, you're growing, it becomes contagious.
Yes.
Whereas before you're like trying to force your opinion on the people, now people are asking you for your opinion.
Yes, that's exactly it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's powered up.
Yes, like
Powered up.
Like, so my wife, she started to really realize the change when her peers started asking her questions. They're like, you're not the same anymore. Like, something's different about you. You're quiet. You're always off to yourself now. You know, you don't even deal in the gossip. And so the things that you normally do that you've gotten away from, the things that served you no good purpose at all, that you've started to let go of and be like, you know what, this isn't for me. This does nothing but hinder me instead of help me.
Yes.
Now people are like, where'd you get this peace from? How'd you become so successful at being so peaceful now?
Right.
Like, what's going on at home? Is everything, you know, did y'all break up, or did you know, did you get a divorce, or, you know, whatever the case may be?
Right.
They're thinking it because of the worst, not thinking that what's really going on is you've started to heal inwardly versus depend on someone else to make you happy. Like, that's one of the things that I no longer can tolerate, hearing a person say, well, they don't make me happy. Well, they're not supposed to.
Right.
It's not their job to make you happy.
Right.
Right. Happiness is an inside job, and happiness technically is temporary versus joy, which is eternal.
You might have just hit me with something, because you know how they say certain things are inside job. I'm trying to see if this kind of analogy works. I might have to sit with that later on, but I agree, and I'll say the thing is, like, when because we love knowledge, like we love learning things about God and talking about it. But the thing is, like, if you don't embody these things, if it hasn't become like an understanding, if it remains an understanding, then people will pick up on it.
Yeah, you got no wisdom to apply it.
Right. And people are like, I ain't listening to you. Like, and it'd be so frustrating because, you know, what you're saying is right. And this was me all throughout my childhood. I'm like, hey, you guys should, to my brothers and sisters, you guys should be doing this and that. And they just ignoring me. And I'm like, these fools, like, these heathens, why won't they listen to me? And
dude, that is so comical right there. You fool. Can't you see?
Yeah, it's like, but I haven't seen it. I haven't embodied it.
Another thing though is that the thing about having sight, right? Mm-hmm. Not just any sight, but the type of sight that God gives us, gives certain people that he gifts them with. It's like these pair of glasses that you're looking through, and don't get me wrong, because it's definitely a gift and a curse type of deal. It's a gift if you're using them correctly, but if you're using them, you know, not for the good of others, it can become a curse. You see black and white. You really see things for what they really are, while other people are still in the dream state, so to speak, and they're not seeing things for what they are. They truly are. Mm-hmm. You're like, you want to shake them and be like, look, and you kind of like put your arm over their shoulder and point to the thing, and you're like, look, just follow like where my finger is at, like it's right there, and they're like, they're closing their eyes. And they're like, I don't want to see it. Like, what are you doing? Like, leave me alone. Like, I'm good right where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Instead of actually putting the glasses on too. But the thing is that you can't force them to put them on. Right. But you also can't take them off. And it bothers you because you get to a point where it's like, dude, I just want people to see that it's bigger than what. Just zoom out.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. Is like, once you start to focus on yourself, you find that, see, the way we treat ourselves is how we treat others.
Yes. Yep.
And so how we're so hard on others to improve, we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we find on our healing journey, this is what I found, is that as I become more compassionate and more gracious towards myself, suddenly I find space to do it for others because I'm realizing, oh, I was there.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have like snapped a finger and got me to get out of it in that moment. I had to bump my head. I had to stay in that space for 3 years before I got out of it. So I got to allow them to go through their full process,
Facts.
trusting that the God that is with me is also with them.
Yes.
And so truly, as we close, truly, all we need to do is focus on ourselves. We have way too much baggage to be focusing on other people's baggage. It's
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And but here's the thing, that doesn't mean you don't help people. It just means you don't force yourself. And so of course we'll have opportunities, and we'll have even more opportunities to help people, and it'll be even that much more effective because as soon as the ear of the listener opens, the teacher appears.
Facts. And I love the way you put that, because the teacher has always been there, but have you realized that they were there?
Right.
Life has always been teaching us. God has always been teaching us in life, right? Because we like to give these outward or external things or these tangible things more grace than we give God by not giving him the credit, but giving it credit, right? We spend a lot of time, again, not giving ourselves enough grace because we've been blinded to think that we don't deserve it, one. Two, we are have been deceived to believe that God makes also the bad things happen to us. And I'm not saying that God can't put the green light on to allow you to go through these struggles or whatever. But we also put ourselves in the struggles that we're in, right? Thirdly, we think that because we're in the struggles that God has left us, instead of realizing that he's the fourth person in the fire, right? Instead of realizing that he's the one standing on the water, allowing you to walk out to him. Instead of realizing that he's the one calling you out from the tomb. Instead of realizing, I can go on and on, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what trials or tribulations you go through, no matter where you're standing right now, even as you're listening to this, God is standing right next to you. Amen. He's standing right there with you. God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are all right there with you, patiently waiting on you to realize it, so that way they can push you right in the direction you need to be headed, because they'll illuminate a light in the darkness of your life.
Yeah.
Showing you the path out.
Yeah, and just to add a little cherry on top, God isn't so far as to even say he's near, because near implies that there's still space.
Distance, right.
He's like in and through. And so as soon as, we wake up to just wake up to the revelation of his presence, to the revelation of truth, that we have strength to get through the battle we're getting through, to recognize that it's not a coincidence that even in your class that these things are coming up at this specific time. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's just random. It's like, no, this is your next thing. Trust the process, trust that he's with us, and you'll get through it. And, we'll all be in heaven rejoicing pretty soon.
Facts. And everything that you're doing, everything that you're going through is going to be used to help somebody else.
Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about it. That's God math. That's that multiplication.
That's it. And so, again, last close, we are going to get out of here because, we're going to get out of here.
Yeah.
And we love you guys. We absolutely enjoyed this. I know I did. Like, I got super excited a few times.
We're doing it today.
Oh, man. I mean, what?
Square. Box.
Pun it. but we encourage you guys to reach out to us if you have anything that you would like to hear us talk about. I mean,
any topics?
Any topics. Like I encourage you guys to hit us with any topics. again, we're constantly dealing with people that already personally know us. And so don't hesitate to hit it.
Yeah, because this is a co-creation.
Yeah.
So you guys aren't just mute participants. Like when we win an award for the best podcast, of the year, we're literally gonna have to thank you guys because of how influential you have been. And so if you want to get one of those thank you cards that we're going to send out, then we want to see some receipts. We want to see you sending us some topics that you would love to hear us talk about, or any video clips that you want to see us react to, whatever it may be.
Yep. You never know. Like maybe the topic that you bring up might be the award-winning topic. You know what I mean? And again, while we joke a lot about these types of things, we really do value the feedback. We value everything that you guys really motivate us to keep on in the creation of this. God isn't even close to being done with us in this, so we're just
getting started.
Yeah, man, and let's keep it going by actually doing this thing together, because we all need each other, right?
Yeah.
So for tonight, this is Lorenzo.
We didn't pray.
We did not.
Shame on you.
This is like the third time I've done that, right?
You just got a little excited.
I did.
I mean, this whole podcast was a prayer. Can we say that?
Wow, you're right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
You'll still close.
I'll close this out. Father God, I just want to thank you. I thank you because we would not be where we are if it weren't for your love, your grace, your mercy, and your direction, your guidance. Father God, continue to guide us throughout these avenues and these roadways in our lives that cause resistance because of our lack of paying attention, or your words falling on deaf ears at times. First off, forgive us for that. Not that we are intentionally doing these things. We're just doing what we've been taught to do, which is rely on our own understanding. And so continue to teach us to lean on you for all of the understanding, which brings you our thoughts and our imaginations and our creativities, because you've given us these things. And so we need your wisdom to show us how to apply the visions and the inklings and the nudges that you've given us to do them. Let us not lean on our own understanding, but come to you and your righteousness, and let all other things be added unto you as we seek the kingdom of God. And so, Lord, continue to walk with us, continue to talk to us, continue to talk through us. And we'll love you forever, no matter what. We thank you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And so it is. All right, brother. Thank you for this week.
And thank you, man.
Yes,
this was well needed. This helped me. I should be able to actually carry on now.
Oh, yeah. We got this, man. We got this.
Seriously.
We're all in this together. Once we know how to and our dreams come true.
Yeah, don't nobody watch this at the end.
Yeah, so this is just us.
Yeah, this is just
we
us.
by ourselves.
Yeah, we just wilding right now. Nobody watch this. We're gonna cut this out. We'll save it for a different time. We give y'all all of the
Our bloopers.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not gonna see this till they see the blooper reel. All right, but this
no.
not a blooper. This is super. I don't know. I'm stretching it right now.
Okay, so before this rubber band snaps, this is Lorenzo.
And this Emman.
And we are Organic Lights, and we will see y'all next time.
Peace.
Later.